Hey guys, Chris here, founder of Rooted Music. Guys, at Rooted, our goal is to help you learn to play the music that you love by coaching you on the why and not just the what. And we're going to do just that in today's tutorial. But before we do, I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel here so you don't miss out on any of the new worship tutorials that we have for you. And I'd also love for you to check out the links in the description of this video where you can download our chord chart to this song for free, and also where you can learn more worship songs just like this for just $1 for the first 30 days. Check out those links and let's go ahead and dive into the video.
Hey everyone, this is JT with Rooted Music, here with you guys today for an advanced piano tutorial of the song Sea of Victory by Elevation Worship. And this song is from their album At Midnight. And by the end of this video today, you are going to know everything you need to know to play Sea of Victory. But before we get into the actual notes and the specifics of the song, there's a few general principles about Sea of Victory that you and I need to look at. And by looking at this before we try to play the song, it's going to make playing this song so much easier. So let's go ahead and begin. So we're going to start here with the key, and the key of Sea of Victory is the key of B flat, and B flat has two flats in the key, and those notes are B flat and E flat. So anytime we see a note maybe in the sheet music that is on a B or an E line or space, we're always going to play the flat. And so note that every time we're playing any note that's a B or E, we're going to play B flat and E flat instead on those two notes. Great, so we have the notes of the scale listed here. Just to the right of our key here. And let's go ahead and go through this scale one time really quick. So in the key of B flat, the notes that we have are B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, and then we finish with B flat. And there we go. That's our scale in the letters. But now if you look in the lower right hand corner of the web page where you're watching this video, you're going to see a chord chart attached that has all of the chords and the notes of Sea of Victory in the letter notation, but you're also going to see a Nashville number chart as well that has it in Nashville number notation. So let's go ahead and build our scale in Nashville numbers, and to build our scale in Nashville numbers, we replace the letter names of the notes with numbers. So B flat is 1, C is 2, D is 3, E flat is 4, F is 5, G is 6, A is 7, and B flat is back to 1. Because it was 1 at the beginning, it's going to be 1 at the end. Very good. Let's go ahead and do that scale one more time because this might be a little new to some of us. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And there we go. And those Nashville numbers apply to when we're referring to just the individual notes of the scale as well as the chords that are built on those notes. So we'll be using Nashville numbers quite a bit throughout this video. And for the rest of this video, I'm going to be reading off of the Nashville number chart, but I will also refer to the letter names as well. So it's up to you as a musician. We recommend that you're able to read both. We think that just makes you a more well-rounded musician, but you can pick which one you're more comfortable with. If you'd rather read in Nashville numbers, go ahead. We have the chart here. You can do that. If you'd rather read in the letter notation, you can also go ahead and do that as well. Great, so now we know the key in both letters and Nashville numbers. We're ready to kind of move on to kind of finding what chords we have in the song. But before we do that, I just want to say knowing the key of any song that we play is so important because when we're playing Sea of Victory, these notes in our B flat scale are the only notes that you and I are allowed to play. So all of the chords, all of the melodies that we're playing on the piano, all of it is built from these notes. These are the building blocks of the song Sea of Victory. So with any song that we're playing, and generally speaking, we're only going to be playing the notes of the scale in the song. There may be a song or two where we're borrowing some notes from another key from time to time, but in 90 to 95% of the songs that you're going to play, the notes of whatever key that song is in, that scale, those are the only notes you're going to play throughout the song. So definitely get familiar with the key of B flat. If you need to practice that scale a couple times, by all means, go ahead. We want to make sure you've got this down because once you have the scale down, building the chords is going to be a lot easier. So great, so now let's go ahead and look through our chord chart or number chart, and let's see all of the unique chords that you and I need to know to play Sea of Victory. So in the intro here, we have a 6 chord, which is G minor, we have a 4 chord, which is E flat, and a 1 chord, which is B flat. Let's keep going, see if we have anything different, which we don't. Here in the chorus, we have a 5 chord, which is F, so we've got that. And then let's keep scrolling through. I don't see anything different here. In the interlude, we have a 1/3, which is a B flat over D chord, and that's it. So to save some time, we're not going to scroll through the rest of the song because we've already seen all the chords we need to know. So we have a total of 5 chords that you and I need to know to play Sea of Victory in the block chord style. And we're going to see these chords also reflected throughout the sheet music as well. So let's go ahead and talk about how do we build these chords now that we're playing Sea of Victory. All right, so now that we've identified we have 5 chords for C of Victory that you and I need to know, let's go ahead and build these chords. And we're going to build them in ascending scale order, starting with B flat or our 1 chord. And when we're playing these chords in the block chord style, we're going to be playing triads in our right hand. And what a triad is, it's a chord made up of 3 notes. And every triad is going to have a root, a third, and a fifth. So for our B flat or our 1 chord, B flat is the root, and we call it the root because this is the note that the rest of the chord is based upon. So B flat is the namesake or the root of this chord. The middle note of our triad is called the third, and in this case D is going to be the third, and we call D the third because B flat to D is the interval of a third. And we know that B flat to D is a third because there's 3 letters in our interval. So B flat, C, and D. There we go. 3 letters, it's a third. And then the top note of our triad, here F, is the fifth, and we call it the fifth because the fifth is 5 letters away from the root. So B flat, C, D, E flat, F. If we were playing the notes of the scale, we have B, C, D, E, F, 5 letters apart, and there we go. So we have root, third, and fifth. And every chord we're going to play, regardless if it's B flat, G minor, F, it doesn't matter. Every chord we're going to play has a root, a third, and a fifth. Great, so that's our triad in our right hand, and then when we're playing in the block chord style, generally with my left hand, I'm going to play an octave of the root note a little bit lower just to provide some nice low end and some of those bass frequencies to the chord. All right, so now we've covered how to play these chords in the block chord style. Remember, we have a triad in the right hand with an octave of the bass note in the left hand. Let's go ahead and build these chords in ascending scale order. So we're going to start, we already kind of did it, but we're going to go back and do our B flat or our 1 chord. So when we're playing our B flat chord, we have B flat is the root, D is the third, F is the fifth at our left hand. And there we go, that's B flat or our 1 chord. Next, let's go ahead and scroll down because we have our B flat over D or 1 over 3. And we're going to talk about our slash chords or our number over number or letter over letter, depending on how we're looking at them here. So here we have a 1 over 3 in this interlude here. And slash chords can be a little bit tricky and a little confusing, but we're going to explain them. So no matter what song you're playing in whatever key, you're going to know how to play a slash chord. So when we're looking at our B flat over D, or 1 over 3 in this case, the first number or letter tells us what we're playing in our right hand. So for 1 over 3, or B flat over D, I'm going to play a B flat chord, or a 1 chord. So I have B flat, D, and F, just like I had previously with my 1 chord or B flat chord here. And then the second letter or number, the one that comes after the slash, tells us what we're playing in the left hand. So instead of my left hand playing B flat on a B flat over D or 1 over 3, I'm going to move my left hand from B flat to D. Just like that. So I have my B flat chord in the right hand over D, or I have my 1 chord over the third note of the scale. And there we go. So same right hand, but just a different left hand. So that's how we play our 1 over 3 or B flat over D. Great, let's move on to the next chord, which is our 4 chord or E flat. So in this one, we have E flat is the root, G is the third, and B flat is the fifth. There we go. At our left hand, that's E flat or our 4 chord. Next, we have F or our 5 chord. So F is the root, A is the third, C is the fifth at the left hand. And there we go. That's F or our 5 chord. And the last chord we need to know is G minor. So G is the root, B flat is the third, and D is the fifth at the left hand, and there we go. That is G minor or our 6th chord. Now, if that was a little too tough to maybe add the octave of the root note in the left hand, you could simply just play a single note like that, or even if that's too tough, just go ahead and play that triad in the right hand, and then once you get those down, you can work in the left hand as well. Very, very good. So let's go ahead. I know we went through those pretty quick. Let's go through those chords again one more time. So we have B flat or our 1 chord, B flat over D, or 1 over 3, E flat, which is our 4 chord, F, which is our 5 chord, and then G minor, which is our 6 chord. Great. Now, one other thing I want to talk about, now that we know all our chords and we've kind of gone through them all, is that I want to talk about how do we use inversions to our advantage. Because when we're playing the block chord style, using inversions can make playing these songs a lot more efficient. And especially because if I'm playing piano by myself, I really want my right hand to kind of stay in this middle C region of the piano here. I really feel like that just helps make the piano sound really, really great, especially if you're playing by yourself. There's nothing wrong with playing a B flat chord up here really high on the piano, but most times when you're listening to worship songs or pop songs or really any kind of songs where it's really piano driven, a lot of it is in this middle C region and below. So you're looking at kind of middle C here on the piano and to the left. And so we're going to use some inversions to help us keep our hands in this region of the piano right here. But let's explain what an inversion is. So when we're talking about chord inversions, we're going to start with our B flat or our 1 chord. And what we're doing is we are playing the same notes, but in a different order on the piano. So if I wanted to take my B flat or 1 chord here and play it just like this with the root as the bottom note, we call that root position. Simple enough. The root is the lowest note in my right hand. But what happens when I take this B flat and move it up here? I still have B flat, D, and F. So it's still technically a B flat or a 1 chord, but now D, or the third of this chord, is now the lowest note. So we call this first inversion. So when the third of the chord is the lowest note, we call it first inversion. I could also take now this D and move it up here, so I have B flat, D, F, just like that, and the fifth is now the lowest note in my right hand, and we call that second inversion. So we have 3 different positions for our chords. So let's review those. We have root position, where root's on the bottom. We have first inversion, where the third of the chord is on the bottom, and then we have second inversion, where the fifth of the chord is on the bottom. And again, we're playing the same notes, B flat, D, and F, just in a different order on the piano. And every chord we play in Sea of Victory, and really every chord we could ever play in any song, can be inverted. So again, we're switching the order of the notes. The notes are the same, but we're playing them in a different sequence. Great. So now let's talk about some inversions that I am going to use for the rest of this song as I'm playing in the block chord style. So I'm going to go through all these chords and show you how I'm going to use inversions. We're going to start with our B flat or our 1 chord, and we learned it here in root position. What we're going to do is we're going to move this F down an octave to here and play our B flat right here, B flat, D, F in second inversion. Next, we're going to play our B flat over D in second inversion as well. Again, we're going to keep our right hand right there, but instead of B flat, I'm going to move my left hand to D. Just like that. That's how I'm going to play my B flat over D, or 1 over 3. Next, I have my E flat or my 4 chord, and instead of playing it here in root position, I'm going to move this G and the B flat down an octave and play it in first inversion just like that. Great. Next, I have F or my 5 chord, and I'm going to play this one in root position. I'm just going to play it an octave lower. So F, A, C, root position, and then the 6th chord, G minor, I'm also going to play in root position right here, just like that. So you can see, as I was going through those chords, my hands really don't get above this E flat. So I play pretty much from F to E flat here. This is kind of the span of my right hand, and every chord that I'm playing, now that I've inverted it, fits within that range. So it's cool. I don't have to move my hand around. I don't have to hop looking for root notes and things like that. It makes it a little more streamlined as I'm playing, especially if I'm playing in a worship team setting where I'm going to be singing as well. The less I have to look at my hands, the better. So I definitely recommend you try out some of those inversions, and if those aren't quite comfortable for you, find some inversions that work for you. That's what I'm going to do. You don't necessarily have to do what I'm doing, but I think that's a pretty good starting point for you if you want to play with the inversions as well. Great, so now we've covered our key, we've covered the chords, we've covered inversions. Let's go ahead and move on to the rhythmic elements of Sea of Victory. So the time signature for Sea of Victory here is 4/4. And time signatures can be a little bit confusing. Each one of these numbers tells us something really important about the song, so let's break it down. The first number in a time signature always tells us how many beats are in a measure. So for Sea of Victory, we have 4 beats per measure. So every measure, I'm just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. And the second number of any time signature tells us what kind of note is considered 1 beat. So here for Sea of Victory, we have a 4 here. That means that a quarter note is considered 1 beat. So every measure is going to have equal to 4 quarter notes. And if you don't know what a measure is simply the way that we break down a really long song into smaller pieces, and it really provides a rhythmic framework that we can work within that helps us keep track of where we are in the song. And so the measures start at the beginning of the song as soon as the song starts, and they smoothly flow from one right into the next until we get to the very end of the song. So when I'm counting through Sea of Victory, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that. There's no pauses, no breaks. We just smoothly go from one right into the next. And we're going to do quite a bit of counting as we're going through Sea of Victory here in this video today. And then the tempo for Sea of Victory is 77.5 beats per minute, which is a really specific tempo. Again, the tempo determines how fast or how slow we count through the song. And so 77.5 is a little bit on the slower end, but it's more mid-tempo than it is slow. So think of it that way. The song has a good energy, especially when the band's all in the bridge and things like that. We really are not dragging, but the natural tendency for us as musicians is we're going to want to speed up. So make sure we're playing, kind of in that laid-back feel. Make sure we're playing at 77.5, but the song doesn't drag. So it's kind of right in the middle there, so be aware of that as we're playing through the song. All right, so now that we've talked about our time signature and tempo, we've covered all the rhythmic aspects of the song that we need to know. So let's go ahead and look here at the song order or the form of the song, and we have quite a bit going on here, so let's break it down really quick. We start with our intro, go to verse 1, go to the chorus, there's a turnaround, verse 2, then we go to 2 choruses in a row here, then we have a quick little interlude. It's a little different than the turnaround, just another short little instrumental there. Then we have bridge 1 4 times in a row. Then we go 2 times through bridge 2, so we have a total of 6 bridges right here. So make sure you're good with that. Then we have a double chorus here, then 2 times through the bridge, then we have our outro, and then we have a final chord at the end. So we have a lot happening here in the song, a lot of different parts, and it can be a little easy to get lost in a song like this. It has a lot of repeats, especially in the bridge, so that's why we differentiated them between bridge 1 and bridge 2 to hopefully make that a little clearer, and that'll become more clear as we get through that part as we're walking through the song. Great, so now, like I said, we've covered the key, we know our scale, we know the chords, we know inversions, we know time signature, tempo, and the order or the form of the song. We are ready now to actually start playing Sea of Victory. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through each section and talk about how to play it off of the chord chart or number chart in the block chord style. And then also, if you look in the lower right-hand corner of the webpage where you're watching this video, you're going to see there's an attachment of the sheet music as well. And so we're also going to talk here about the sheet music and talk about some things. I might play a few sections that are a little tougher to show you how to count your way through it and things like that. But we're just going to talk about these sections and kind of walk you through if there's anything you need to know in that if you desire to play the actual note-for-note piano part from this song. Great, so let's go ahead here and start at the intro. Now, before we get to the intro and verse 1, I do just want to talk really quick. If you've never read a chord chart before, let's talk about how we read our chord chart. So we're actually going to skip past the intro and come here to verse 1. And so if you're looking at the letter chart, you're going to see letter names up here. If you're looking at the number chart, you're going to see numbers up here. Kind of placed in various positions in relation to the lyrics. And what these are our chord changes. So they don't necessarily tell us everything rhythmically about how to play the song, but it tells us when we need to change from one chord to the next. So what I'm going to do is play these first couple lines here just to show you how we would read a chord chart. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. The weapon may be formed, but it won't prosper. And you could see, just as I was saying these lyrics, or if somebody was singing these lyrics, I play the chord changes based on where they happen in the lyrics. So the weapon, I start on my 6th chord or G minor on weapon, then I go to my 4 chord or E flat on formed, and then I go to my 1 chord or B flat on prosper, just like that. Now, like I said, these don't always tell us everything rhythmically about the song. I could play just the chord changes like that. I could also play like a quarter note pattern in my right hand, something like this. The weapon may be formed, but it won't prosper. And as long as my chord changes line up with where they need to happen in the lyrics, then we're good. And that's what's really cool about a chord chart. It really just tells us when to change from one chord to the next. We could simply just play the chord changes if we want, but we could also mix it up a little bit rhythmically as long as we're changing at the times we're supposed to change from one chord to the next. Great. Now, what do we do in a section where we don't have lyrics, like here in the intro? Well, at Rooted, we've got a system here that makes playing instrumental sections without words really easy. So the first thing is every group of chords that you see that's separated by a space indicates one measure. And we talked about measures earlier. That's just us counting 1, 2, 3, 4. So here in the intro, we have 4 measures. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. And any measure that we have where we have 2 chords connected by a dash indicates that those chords share the same measure. So for our intro, this first measure, we have a G minor and then an E flat. Each one of these gets 2 beats. And then our 1 chord here is the second measure, and it gets a full measure. So that's how we play through sections that don't have lyrics. Great, so now that we've talked about how to read the chord chart in both a section that has lyrics and a section that doesn't, let's go ahead and dive into the intro here. So I'm going to play through this one time in the block chord style, and then we'll break it down. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. just like that. So the intro here has 4 total measures, and this first measure I go from my G minor or 6 chord for 2 beats to my E flat or 4 chord for 2 beats, and then I go to my 1 chord or B flat for the second measure, and then we repeat that little group of 2 measures over. So pretty simple, nothing too crazy there. Again, just make sure when you're playing through this that you're just making sure that each one of these chords gets 2 beats. So if you're playing along, you can count your way through that. Let's look in the sheet music here and see what do we have going on here in the intro. So here in the sheet music, you're going to see that we actually have 5 total measures here in the intro, but we only had 4 measures in the chord chart. So how does that work? So in this first measure here, you're going to notice we only have 2 beats. We call this a pickup measure, and these in our right hand here are pickup notes. And a pickup note simply is when we are borrowing beats from a prior measure, maybe like the count-in measure in this case, or from another section as we're going into another section. And what we're doing is we're having a little bit of overlap with it might be lyrics, it might be melody notes, it might be something, but the song isn't starting on beat 1. And so here in the intro, we're actually stealing the last 2 beats of our count-in measure. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, play, like in the block chord style in that G minor, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and then I'm here on the first full measure of our intro is here. So beats 3 and 4 of our count-in measure are going to be played by these octaves here in the right hand. So don't let that throw you off. We are starting on beat 3, leading us into our 4 measures here of the intro. Great. So that's a little confusing, but I wanted to explain that before we move on. So as we look through the rest of the intro here, we have this lead line here of octaves in the right hand. So just make sure we have some tied notes here, and with tied notes, just remember we play the first one and we add the note values together. So we don't play the second one, but we add it on to the note value here. So like this F here is being played for 2.5 beats. So just make sure you're aware of those tied notes there. But the right hand's playing that melody and octaves, and the left hand's kind of just playing these kind of basic shells of these chords here, following the exact same chords that we played in the chord chart or number chart. Also in the sheet music here, you're going to see the chord changes listed above each measure, and these chord changes are the exact same chord changes you see in the letter chart or the number chart. They are just kind of 2 sides of the same coin, but they are the exact same, so you can use these as a reference too as you're going through the sheet music. All right, so now that we've covered everything about the intro, let's move on to verse 1. And so what we're going to do here in verse 1 is I'm going to say the lyrics and play through it, show you how it all plays together, and then we'll break it down. So here it is, verse 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. The weapon may be formed, but it won't prosper. When the darkness falls, it won't prevail. 'Cause the God I serve knows only how to triumph. My God will never fail. My God will never fail. And there we go. So that was verse 1 if we were playing in the block chord style just from the chord chart or the number chart here. So let's go ahead and break this down really quick. So verse 1 has a total of 10 measures in it. So most of our sections generally are 8 or 4, kind of multiples of 4 measures. The verses in the song actually have 10 measures because we repeat this last little line here. They kind of tag on 2 extra measures to the end. So we call it a total of 10 measures. And we start here with our 6 chord or G minor on weapon. We play that for 2 beats. Then we go to our 4 chord or E flat on form for 2 beats. And then we go to our 1 chord or B flat on the word prosper for a full measure. So this is 2 total measures here. And this looks a little familiar. This actually is the same rhythmically as this is up here in our intro. Now the only difference is we're just singing words over the top of it. And we're going to actually see this continue all throughout the rest of verse 1. So here, our next group of 2 measures starts here. We have our 6 chord or G minor on when for 2 beats. We go to our 4 chord or E flat on falls for 2 beats, and then our 1 chord on, or B flat on prevail for a full measure. So here's our next group of 2 full measures. Then here we got our 6 chord or G minor on God for 2 beats, our 4 chord or E flat on only for 2 beats, and our 1 chord or B flat on triumph for a measure. So here's measures 5 and 6, and then my God will never fail. We got our G minor or 6 on my for 2 beats, our 4 chord or E flat on never for 2 beats, and our 1 chord or B flat on fail for a full measure. So here's measures 7 and 8, and then we repeat that again for measures 9 and 10. So pretty simple. We're still just playing that G minor or 6, E flat or 4, B flat or 1 for a whole measure, We're playing that same chord progression, same rhythms, everything we saw in the intro, but now we just go through that 5 times total here in verse 1 with the lyrics. So pretty simple, nothing too crazy here to start the song off. Let's go ahead and come down to verse 1 in the sheet music and see what we have going on. We're really just kind of playing the exact same thing. We got 2 half notes for this first measure, then a whole note here on B flat for the second measure, and that just kind of repeats here time and time again. I do want to point out we get pretty low down here on the piano when we're getting down to this section here. So if you're not playing on a full 88 key piano or keyboard, you may not have this B flat all the way down here, which is fine. You could play it up here if you wanted to instead, but this is the note down here. So just be aware of that. These really low notes are both B flat here. This is an octave of B flat. But pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Just got half notes and whole notes playing these chords here in the sheet music. Great, let's go ahead and move to the chorus. All right, so here we are in the chorus, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did in the verse. I'm going to play through it, say the lyrics, show you rhythmically how the lyrics and the chords line up, and then we'll talk about it. So here it is, 1, 2, I'm going to see a victory. I'm going to see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm going to see a victory. I'm going to see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And there we go. So our chorus has a total of 8 measures in it, and we are just playing the same 4 chords 2 times all the way through. So we start here with our 6th chord or G minor on victory. We hold that for a measure. Then we go to our 4 chord or E flat on the next victory for a whole measure or 4 beats. Then we come down to our 1 chord or B flat on battle for a measure. And then we finish this first half of the chorus with our 5 chord or F on the word Lord for a measure. And then we're going to pretty much repeat this first half of the chorus here. Again, it's got the 6th chord to our 4 chord, to our 1 chord, to our 5 chord or G minor, E flat, B flat, and F. So everything there is going to be the same. So this first group of 4 measures, this first half of the chorus has the same chords, the same rhythms, and the same lyrics as the second group of 4 measures here. So pretty simple. We're just kind of repeating that group of 4 measures twice throughout the chorus. Great, let's look in the sheet music and see if we have anything crazy going on here. And we're just really playing whole notes here to start the chorus, and then we look here in the second group of 4 measures, same chord progression, same everything. It's all whole notes here except for the last measure, and just like we had some pickup notes at the very beginning of the song leading us into the intro, when we're going into the turnaround, we're going to see this again. So on this last measure of the chorus, beats 3 and 4 are going to be these notes that are going to lead us into the turnaround. So just be aware of that. These are our pickup notes that lead us into the next section down here. Great, let's move on to the turnaround. All right, so here we are in the turnaround, and you're going to notice this turnaround sure looks a lot like the intro, and that's because the turnaround and the intro are the exact same. And so for the sake of time, we're going to skip over this in the block chord style because we already know how to play this. Let's just check in the sheet music to see if anything is different. And here we're going to see that the sheet music actually has the exact same thing as the intro. The reason we call this a turnaround instead of the intro is just because it would be weird to say like intro, verse, chorus, and then back to the intro, where really the intro is starting us off with the song. So we call it a turnaround. It's kind of the same thing, just a little instrumental section here that is similar to the intro that leads us into the next section. Great, so that was the turnaround. Pretty simple. Let's move on to the next section, which is going to be verse 2. All right, so here we are on the next page of our chord chart, and we're looking at verse 2. And what's really cool about See Victory and a lot of worship songs that we play is that they're fairly repetitive. So this happens here in See Victory, and verse 2 is actually going to play the exact same way that verse 1 did. It's the same chord progressions, the same rhythms, the same number of measures. Everything is the same. The only thing that's different are the lyrics. So just be aware as you're going through verse 2 that you're going to play it the exact same way you played verse 1. The only thing now, we just have different words that we're singing over the top. So for the sake of time, we're going to skip over verse 2 in the block chord style because we already know how to play this. Just we're looking at different lyrics in verse 1. So that is verse 2 in the block chord style. All right, so now that we've gone through verse 2 in See Victory in the block chord style from the chord chart, let's go ahead and look at the sheet music. Just make sure nothing crazy is going on there or anything that we need to talk about. So here we are in verse 2 in the sheet music. And we're going to see pretty much the same thing. We got half notes and a whole note, just like in verse 1. Again, just make sure you know that this is a B flat, really low, like almost to the end of the piano B flat here. And then here in this final measure, we have some tied notes here that looks pretty complex, but it's actually not too bad. So let's talk about this last measure here in verse 2 really quick. So I'm playing the F and B flat here, and let's add these up really quick. So I've got 2 beats here on this half note, a quarter note, which is 3, and then I got an 8th note here. So for 3.5 beats, I'm playing this just simple B flat and F, and then these last 2 16th notes here are the last half of beat 4 in this measure. We're playing G, A, and these are pickup notes that lead us into the chorus. Because we are playing something different in the chorus the second time through in the sheet music, so we have these pickup notes here. So just be aware that you're really holding this F and B flat for most of the measures. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and just like that, leading us into this chorus here. So it's not as complicated as it might seem on first glance. But there we go. That's how we play through that measure. Also, I will be playing the note for note piano part along with the recording at the end of this video. So if you have any questions or something as we're looking through the sheet music doesn't quite make sense, you can always look to that playthrough at the end of this video for a reference. Great. Let's move on to the chorus. All right, so here we are. We just finished verse 2. Now we're back to the second time through the chorus. And in the block chord style from the chord chart or number chart, this chorus is going to play the exact same way that the first time through the chorus played. So because we've already gone through that, we're going to save a little time and skip over this repeat of the chorus in the chord chart. But like I kind of hinted at earlier, now in the sheet music, we are doing something a little different here in this chorus. So what I'm going to do is kind of go ahead and play these first 4 lines here so you can see how this plays. It's pretty simple. Some of these rhythms are a little complicated, so I'll play through it once and then we'll break it down. I will start here with my pickup notes here. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 1. Go. Just like that. That's how we play our first 4 measures of the second time through the chorus based off the sheet music. So let's talk about it. Left hand's pretty simple. We're just playing whole notes. Nothing too crazy going on here. Our right hand does have some pretty complex rhythms. So let's break it down. We have an 8th note here, which gets half of a beat. Then we have 2 dotted 8th notes in a row that each one of those gets 3/4 of a beat. So this adds up to a total of 2 beats. 1/2 plus 3/4 equals 2 total beats. Then we have a quarter note, and we have another quarter note here, but this one is tied to this 8th note here. So now let's go ahead and count through this first measure really slowly. And just to clarify, when we were talking about measures, we counted 1, 2, 3, 4. But that's if we're counting on a quarter note level. If the quarter note was the smallest note we were using, we would simply count that. But because we have 8th notes and 16th notes, we need to go 2 levels lower. So if I'm counting 8th notes, I count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and if you notice, I didn't speed up. I wasn't counting faster. I just broke the measure down into 8 smaller parts instead of 4 larger parts. Now with 16th notes, we break our 8th notes down even into smaller pieces called 16th notes, and we count 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. So instead of 4 larger parts or 8 medium-sized parts, we're breaking the measure down into 16 really small pieces, but because we are playing especially some dotted 8th notes where we're playing like 3/4 of a beat, we're really going to make sure that we're going to count on the 16th note level because that's going to help us play through this the best. So I'm going to play this first measure really slowly to show you the rhythm. So here it is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a just like that. So I actually played these first 2 measures here, and again, we're playing this first 8th note on 1. Then this D here is on the and of 1 because this is our second half of beat 1. Then here, this is where it gets a little tricky. We're playing this on the E of beat 2. So 1E and a 2E and a, then 3E and a 4E and a. Pretty simple. And we got this tied note here. So this also gets the 1E and a 2E and a 3, 4. Just like that. So it's not too hard to play. It is a little rhythmically complex. So I just wanted to explain that to you just for a second there. And the same rhythm follows these 4 measures. The notes are a little different here in this last measure, but it's the same rhythms. And the same thing happens here in the next 4 measures of the chorus. So that's how we count our way through it. Again, if you have any questions, you can always look to the playthrough at the end of this video. Great. Let's move on back to the sheet music. And we're going to see that not only do we have this first chorus down here, And I actually was talking about the second chorus up here when I was going through the sheet music here. I forgot to scroll down, but so we have our first chorus, the one we just went through, was actually here in the sheet music. And then up here, this is a repeat of the chorus. They play the exact same way off of the chord chart here, so it's fine that I accidentally referenced this here, but just know when we're reading through this chord chart, we go verse 2 down to this chorus, and then we come back up here to this next column here, and this is a repeat of the chorus. So we play 2 choruses in a row. They're the exact same as the previous chorus that we played here in the chord chart or number chart. Let's go to the sheet music, and we're going to see this also plays the exact same way that it did that first time through it just previously here in the sheet music. So we have 2 choruses in a row. They play the exact same way, whether you're playing it from the chord chart or from the sheet music. Great. So again, for the sake of time, we can skip over this repeat of the chorus because we've already covered everything we need to do there. Great. So let's move on to the next section of the song, and that is going to be our interlude. So now that we finished those 2 times through the chorus, we're going to move on to the interlude, and this is really the part of the song here. We're really moving in a different musical direction. We're introducing some new melodies, some different chord progressions. It's really going to carry us through the bridge section of this song. So as we're going through this, we're just going to play this interlude here in the block chord style, and then we'll break it down. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there we go. So we have 4 total measures here in the interlude. Our first measure is our 4-chord or E flat. We play that for 1 measure. Now earlier in the intro and turnaround, when we had measures connected by a dash, each one of those got 2 beats, but in the interlude here, these each don't get 2 beats. So we have our second measure of the interlude. We have our 5-chord or F. We're going to play that for 3 beats. And then this 1/3 or B flat over D only gets 1 beat. So in the second measure, I count 1, 2, 3, 4. This one only gets beat 4. So we go 1 beat here. This third measure is going to be the same way. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. So just be aware of that. These don't get 2 beats each. This one gets 3, this one gets 1, this one gets 3, this one gets 1. They still add up to 4 total beats, but unlike the intro and turnaround, we're not splitting those beats evenly here in the second and third measure. And our last measure, it's pretty simple, 5-chord or F for a whole measure. So you might want to practice this section just a little bit, make sure you get this down rhythmically because it is a little more advanced, but nothing too crazy. But just go through it 1 or 2 times and I think you'll have it. So now let's look to the sheet music and see what we have going on in this interlude section here. And this is really where this song, especially in the note-for-note piano part, gets a little bit trickier. And so we're going to go through this, kind of break it down here for a minute, show you how to do this. It's pretty complex, but it's a really fun part to play once you get it down. We got a lot of octaves in both left hand and right hand. Specifically, our right hand is really hopping around a lot playing these octaves. So what I'm going to do is play through these first 4 measures here in the interlude and just show you. I'll go through it a little slower just so you can see how it all plays, and then we'll break it down. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. That was the interlude. And again, it's pretty complicated when it comes to the right hand and the octaves, but we're going to break it down and really counterweight through it really slowly, and everything will make a lot more sense. So let's go ahead and start. And what's cool about this interlude is once you get this down, this is going to repeat a lot as we go throughout the bridge. So once you get this group of 4 measures down, everything else past that for a while is going to be played the same way. So let's start here in the left hand. Pretty easy. Just kind of following the chords that we talked about in the chord chart or the number chart. Got E flat for a measure, then F for 2 beats, or F, we got F for 3 beats, excuse me. And we have D for 1 beat. And we got our E flat for 3 beats, G for 1 beat, and then F for a measure. So the left hand mirrors exactly what we covered in the block chord style from the chord chart or number chart. So now let's look here in the right hand, and we're going to see we're playing a pretty complicated rhythmic melody here consisting of all dotted eighth notes, and we have a couple tied notes here crossing over our measure lines. So the way we're going to count through this is we're going to count through it again on the 16th note level really slowly, and it's all going to add up here. So here in this first measure, when we start, we have a eighth rest here, so the first half of beat 1 we're not playing. Then we play our G octave here on the and of 1, and we hold that for and 2, and then on E of 2, we're going to play this next dotted eighth note, so E and then on beat 3, we come down to F here on this octave right here. This is beat 3. And we hold that for 3, E, and then here we go to our B flat on 4, E, and then on this A. Just like that. So it goes something like this. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and just like that. And then this is going to get tied over to the first half of beat 1 of the next measure in place of this 8th rest. But this all plays the same rhythmically, but these are a little bit of different notes. We have this A here instead of the G. So again, this is a section that you're going to want to take really slowly and really make sure you're getting this rhythm down. Also, this is kind of hard to play and hop octaves around a lot like that, especially with your right hand if you're not used to it. So if you're not used to that, you can go ahead and just play a single note. So you could play something like this where you're going 1. You could do something like that. That may be easier just to play the single note there if you want to play this melody, but don't feel comfortable hopping those octaves around. But if you practice a lot, you'll be able to get this pretty quickly, I would imagine. And it's a really fun part to play when you put it all together, but it does take a little time. So I highly recommend you take this slowly, count through it correctly, get the notes right, and then also, again, you can refer to the playthrough at the end of this video where I'm playing this so you can see how I play it with the recording. All right, great. So now that we've covered the interlude in the sheet music, and that took a little bit of time there, but I want to make sure we get it right, let's go ahead and go to back to the chord chart or number chart here, and let's look at bridge 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through bridge 1 one time here so you can see what it looks like where I'm playing the chords along with the lyrics. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Just like that. So one thing that's really convenient about bridge 1 is it's the same chords, the same chord progressions, the same rhythms, the same everything, but now we're just putting words over the top of it. So it's kind of like how the intro chord progression also was the same as the verse 1 chord progression, just we added words in verse 1. We can think of this the same way. Bridge 1, it's the same chord progression, same chords, same everything as the interlude. We're just adding words over the top. And we're going to repeat this bridge 4 times in a row. So you can see bridge 1 here. Then we keep scrolling down. We got bridge 1 here again the second time, bridge 1 the third time, and bridge 1 the fourth time. So we have 4 times in a row where we're playing the same chords, the same rhythms, and the same lyrics. So that makes this song go a lot quicker when it comes to learning it because we already know how to play through the first 4 of the 6 times through the bridge. So let's go ahead and look at the sheet music here really quick and see if we have anything different from the interlude moving to the bridge. And here's bridge 1, and it's going to be the exact same all the way through here as well. So this is our second time through the bridge 1 here. It's the same. Here's our third time through bridge 1. It's the same. Here's our fourth time through bridge 1. It's the same. So once you know how to play the interlude part from the sheet music, it's the same as the first 4 times through the bridge. We're still playing those octaves in the right hand, that melody. And again, that really drives this bridge and interlude section. So really, if you're going to play this, again, I highly recommend that you really practice this. I think this is by far the trickiest part of this song is getting this right hand, these rhythms here, and getting that down in those octaves there. But it's a really fun part to play when you get it down. So be patient with it. Take some time. It'll sound great if you just keep working at it. So let's move on now to bridge 2, or the 5th and 6th times through the bridge, because now we're going to get to some different stuff here. So we've played through all 4 of our bridge 1s. And bridge 2 here, it's actually the same lyrics, but we do have some different chords. So I'm going to walk us through this here really quick in bridge 2 and show you how we play this. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Just like that. So that's how we play through bridge 2 in the block chord style from the chord chart. It's the same number of measures. We still have 4 measures. It's the same lyrics, but what we've done now is we've replaced our 1/3 chord that we see here in bridge 1, and we've added a 6 chord or G minor instead, but the rhythms are going to be the same. So this E flat or 4 chord still gets 1 whole measure. This F or 5 chord gets 3 beats, but now this 6 chord or G minor gets 1 beat. So we get 3 beats here on this 4 chord or E flat, 1 beat on this G minor or 6 chord, and then we finish up with a full measure of F or a 5 chord. So again, 4 total measures, but we are playing, we are substituting this different chord here, the 6th chord in where the 1/3 was previously. Great, now let's go to the sheet music, and we're going to see now in the bridge, we do have something different going on right here. So here in the bridge now, it's the same, we're following that same chord pattern in our left hand with the octaves like we did previously. So instead of going to the B flat over D here, now we're going to move up to the G here for one beat, but everything else is the same. But in the right hand, it's the same rhythms, but we are moving and starting on a different point. So instead of starting on G down here, like we do here, we're actually starting on a B flat and playing different notes in the right hand. So now I'm going to go ahead and play through bridge 2 one time just so you can see how this all fits together. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that. It's the same rhythmically, everything's the same, we just got different notes here. So again, take your time working through this section, make sure you're playing the right notes, but again, bridge 2, just a different series of notes here, but it's still a similar pattern, but just, and you can hear that in the song too when you're listening to these bridge sections. Bridge 1, those 4 times we played through it, it's got its own sound, and then you can hear the piano part changing to this, to these higher notes here going through bridge 2. So we go through that 2 times in a row. To finish out our bridge section, it's the exact same in the sheet music, and as we look through here in the chord chart, this repeat of bridge 2 is also the same. So the bridge section, we can really break it down into bridge 1 being played 4 times in a row, and it's played the exact same way, including actually the interlude as well. We just don't have lyrics in the interlude, but that all plays the same. And then bridge 2, the last 2 times we go through the bridge, plays a little bit differently. It's similar, but we do have a different chord in there. We replace our 1/3 with that 6th chord, or B flat over D with G minor, and then our right hand in the sheet music in bridge 2 is also playing different notes as well. So we can really break our bridge section down into like 2 main parts, and that should help us as we're getting through it. Number 1, just to help us play it right, but also help us so we don't get lost as we're going through it. Great, so now we've covered the bridge. Let's go ahead and go back to the chorus. So here we are now in the chorus after the big bridge section, and this is where the band has really dropped out for a second, and because we built up this huge bridge, and now the band has cut out here in this chorus. And what's cool about this chorus here is that we have played this previously, and this chorus plays the exact same way that the previous choruses did if we're going to play it from the chord chart or the number chart in the block chord style. So for the sake of time, we can skip over that. So let's go to our sheet music now and look at this chorus, and this is really a down chorus. So again, we're really just playing kind of bare minimum chords here, just like this. Pretty simple, so just be aware of these notes here. We got some really low notes. Just remember these are all octaves of the root. So this is a G, this is E flat, these are B flats way down here, and this is F here. So that can kind of help you out if you have trouble reading all of these ledger lines down below. So that's the first 4 measures of that down chorus, and then it repeats again. So we have just a down chorus, and then the band kind of slowly builds back up here into that repeat of the chorus. All right, so now we've gotten through the chorus in that down chorus there. Let's go ahead, now the band's built back up, and we're actually going to repeat that chorus. So here we are on the final page in the chord chart, and this chorus, if you're playing in the block chord style, plays the exact same way all the previous choruses have as well. So nothing too crazy going on here, so for the sake of time, we'll skip over that. Let's go back to the sheet music. We've finished our down chorus. Now in the repeat, we're actually going back to the chorus, what we played in that chorus before the bridge, where we have that little eighth note, dotted eighth note pattern with those quarter notes in the right hand, just playing whole notes here in the left hand. We've already covered that earlier in the video, so for the sake of time, we will skip over that as well. So we're through that double chorus at the end, and then what happens is we go through bridge 2 more times. We've already covered bridge 2. This plays the exact same way that bridge 2 played previously as the 5th and 6th times through the bridge in the huge bridge section earlier. So for the sake of time, we'll skip over that. And then here in the sheet music, the bridge 2 part here plays the exact same way. So here now in the sheet music, as we're playing through these last 2 times through bridge 2 after our double chorus at the end, we're going to play the exact same thing. We're starting on that B flat and moving up to the B flat here. So it's the same thing as what we saw previously through bridge 2. Great, so let's go back to the chord chart and look at the final sections here. So we have the outro, and this outro section here is going to play the exact same way as the bridge 2 chords play just without lyrics. So the same rhythms, everything's the same. So I'll play through it one time here just to show you, but it's all the same. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that, it plays the exact same way as bridge 2 does, just without the lyrics. There's some kind of ad-lib singing. The lead singer is kind of singing over the top here, but it's really just a big instrumental. The band's huge as we're finishing out the song. And then here in the outro at the end, it's going to play the exact same way as bridge 2 did as well in the note-for-note piano part. So nothing new, nothing crazier here going on here. It just kind of is a continuation of what we were playing previously here in that. So now let's come on back to the chord chart here and talk about the way that we end this song. So the ending here is just a simple 4 chord. I'm just going to play it and hold it, but you also see here in parentheses it says emphasize the E of beat 1. So in the recording, instead of playing just a single chord at the end, which you could do, that's totally fine, it sounds great, they play 1 E. So they play like 1 16th note and then hold out that second 16th note for the rest of until the band kind of fades out or wants to be done. So you could just simply play a 4 chord on beat 1 and just go 1, 2, 3, 4 to finish the song out, or you could go 1 E, and that's what they do there. So those are 2 16th notes. They're pretty quick, and the E comes from 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So if you want to play it that way, you certainly can as well. And in the sheet music, we're going to see the same thing here. We've got a 16th note, and then we've got a 16th note tied throughout the rest of that measure. So it's 1 E, just like that. And then this fermata here tells us that we can hold this note out as long as we want. And the band, there's kind of a big crash ending on the end. The band just kind of keeps going. Drummers hitting the cymbals. You might play this chord a few more times, or guitars might be playing a little bit towards the end as well. So you can just feel free to hold this out as long as you'd like, or until the recording fades out. Either or. But there we go. That's how we play Sea of Victory. We've made it all the way through this song, and this song is a really fun song to play. There are some aspects of it, especially in the bridge when it comes to the sheet music and that right hand part, that can be a little tricky. So definitely take your time. Like I said a couple times earlier, get it right slowly, then work your speed up to the tempo of the song. That makes it a lot easier than trying to play it at tempo, but you're playing all the wrong notes and then you learn it wrong, or it's just really frustrating. So ideally, you don't want to do that. You want to start slow, make sure you got the rhythms and the notes right, and then over time, you'll build up that hand-eye coordination and get used to that, and then you'll be able to play it at speed. But there we go. We've made it through Sea of Victory. We're at the end of the song, so now you know everything you need to know to play it in the block chord style from the chord chart, or the note-for-note part in the sheet music.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us today in this tutorial. I hope you really enjoyed it and learned a lot through it. Make sure to subscribe to our channel here so you don't miss any of the new tutorials we have coming up. And make sure to check out those links in the description of this video so you don't miss out on the chord chart and you don't miss out on more and more worship song coaching for just $1 for the first 30 days. Check out those links and we'll see you soon.